At the Military Heritage Ball, my ex-fiancé raised his glass and told the room I had once begged him not to leave me for the commander's daughter. 9 years after he used my work, my silence, and my broken heart to build his rank, Damon Cross laughed and called me the woman who could not keep up. I smiled, saved the recording on my phone, and kept my hand on the sealed demotion order inside my clutch. At the Military Heritage Ball, my ex-fiancé raised his glass and told the room I had once begged him not to leave me for the commander's daughter. 9 years after he used my work, my silence, and my broken heart to build his rank, Damon Cross laughed and called me the woman who could not keep up. I smiled, saved the recording on my phone, and kept my hand on the sealed demotion order inside my clutch. The ballroom went quiet for 1 second, then people laughed because Damon was handsome, decorated, and standing beside Leah Whitmore, the daughter of a retired base commander. In rooms like this, laughter often followed power, not truth. Damon looked almost the same as he had 9 years ago, dark hair, sharp jaw, polished medals, and that easy smile that made people believe he was brave even when he was only confident. His uniform fit him like it had been made for a statue. Leah stood at his side in a silver gown, one hand resting on his arm, her wedding ring bright enough to catch every chandelier in the room. I had once imagined standing beside him at a ball like this. Back then, I had been 26, tired, hopeful, and foolish enough to think love could survive ambition. Now I was 35, calm in a black dress, with a government badge hidden beneath satin and a recording running in my palm. "You remember Mara Ellison, don't you?" Damon said to the circle around us. A few officers turned toward me. Some recognized my name but could not place it. Some saw only a woman standing alone near the edge of the room. That was what Damon wanted. He wanted me small, separate, easy to laugh at. "She used to work in medical logistics," he added, very earnest, very intense. "Thought spreadsheets could save the world." A young captain chuckled. Leah tilted her head. "Mara, it has been so long. I almost didn't recognize you." "I recognized you," I said. Her smile tightened. Still direct, still accurate. Damon's eyes flashed for half a second, then he leaned back and gave the room another charming smile. "Do not mind her. Mara was always serious. She took everything personally, even my engagement." A soft wave of laughter moved through the group. My thumb touched the side of my phone. The recording light stayed red. "Your engagement?" I asked. Damon's grin widened. "Well, my first one." To her, the captain's eyes widened with the hungry shock people get when gossip arrives in uniform. Leah sighed with fake kindness. "Damon, don't embarrass her." "No, no," Damon said. "It's been 9 years. Surely she can laugh now." I looked at him over the rim of my untouched champagne. "Laugh at what?" "At the past," he said. "At how dramatic it all seemed. At how you thought I had ruined your life because I chose a woman who understood command culture. There it was. Not just betrayal, revision." Leah's hand tightened around his sleeve. She liked this version of the story. It made her the natural choice and me the emotional mistake. "I did understand command culture," I said. "I understood chain of command. I understood mission logs. I understood evacuation windows. I understood not putting your name on another person's work." Damon's smile did not disappear, but it became harder. "Careful, Mara." That single word was familiar. He used to say it when I asked questions. "Careful," as if truth was a weapon only dangerous when I touched it. The band shifted into a slower piece. Conversations rose again around us, but a few people stayed close enough to listen. Leah smiled at me. "Tonight is important for Damon. He has worked very hard for this promotion." "I know," I said. Damon's expression softened into mock pity. "I heard you left field support years ago, some office position now, something like that. Good for you," he said, and lifted his glass. "Not everyone is built for the front line." I felt no heat in my face. That surprised me. For years, I had imagined this moment. I had imagined shouting, crying, throwing his medals into his perfect face. But when the moment finally came, I felt only clean, sharp stillness because I had not come to this ball to be seen by Damon. I had come to watch him. The Defense Personnel Integrity Office had spent 8 months reviewing irregularities in senior promotion files. Damon Cross's name sat near the top of the list. His pending elevation to colonel had moved too quickly. Supported by old battlefield commendations and leadership claims that did not match archived data, my team had flagged the file first, then I had recognized the operation name Operation Mercyline the night my life ended, the night Damon's career began. Damon, Leah said softly, the presentation is starting. He turned toward the stage, then glanced back at me. Stay and watch, he said, it may be good for you. Closure. I looked at the stage, where a large screen displayed the crest of the Northern Defense Command. Beneath it, in gold letters, were the words, service, honor, accountability. That last word almost made me smile. I agree, I said, tonight should give us closure. Damon did not understand. He only gave me a final arrogant nod and walked toward the front tables with Leah on his arm. I stayed near the side wall. Colonel Grace Voss appeared beside me moments later, tall, gray-haired, and severe in her dress uniform. You got that? She asked without looking at me. Every word. He just made this easier. He always did talk too much when he thought he was winning. Voss's mouth twitched. Are you steady? I looked at Damon, accepting handshakes from generals, donors, and old family friends. Yes, you are not here as his former fiancé, Voss said. I know, you are here as Deputy Director Ellison. I know that too, but both things were true. The woman he abandoned was standing in the same body as the official who had authority over his review. I would not pretend the past had no blood in it. I would only make sure the blade I used tonight was legal. The master of ceremonies stepped to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin the promotion recognition segment, Northern Defense Command is honored to welcome a special representative from the Office of Personnel Integrity and Command Review. Damon's head turned slightly. Leah frowned. Voss stepped aside, giving me room to walk. The master of ceremonies looked down at his card. Please welcome Deputy Director Mara Ellison. For the first time that night, Damon Cross stopped smiling. 9 years earlier, Damon had loved me best when I made him look brilliant. That was the truth I refused to see. We were stationed at Fort Halewood then, a hard, windy base near the northern coast. I worked in medical logistics, which meant I lived inside maps, supply lists, transport windows, weather delays, fuel estimates, and the quiet panic of keeping wounded people alive between one place and another. Damon was a major then, ambitious, dazzling, and always one step away from the recognition he believed he deserved. I was engaged to him. My ring was small. He apologized for it when he gave it to me, and I told him I loved it because I loved him. That was the kind of woman I had been. Give me crumbs, and I would call them a meal if they came from the man I trusted. The week before Operation Mercyline, storms closed 2 of the standard evacuation routes near the border. 3 field clinics were overloaded. A convoy had been delayed. Helicopter extraction was limited. Command wanted a safe transfer plan within 12 hours. I worked for 19. Damon brought me coffee at 2 in the morning. He kissed the top of my head and looked at the screens covering my desk. You are terrifying when you focus, he said. I found a corridor. I told him, it is ugly, but it works. Staggered ground movement, temporary stabilization at ridgepost, then airlift from the quarry once the fog lifts. We can move the worst cases first. He leaned closer. You built all this with Priya from air scheduling and Reed from comms, but the routing model is mine. You are incredible. I smiled because I was tired and because praise from him still felt like sunlight. Send me a copy, he said. I have a command briefing at 7. I can make sure they take it seriously. I hesitated, not because I did not trust him. I did trust him. That was the problem. I trusted him more than I trusted the system that often ignored women in rooms where men wore louder medals. Send it to my secure drive, he said. I will credit you. So I did. By noon, the plan was approved. By evening, the first transfers began. By the next morning, 27 critical patients had been moved out before the storm shut the region down completely. People called it a miracle. Damon called me from the command building. They loved it, he said. They, Whitmore and the senior staff, they want a full after-action report. Great, I can draft the medical logistics section. There was a pause. I already started one, Damon said. Just to save time. A small unease opened inside me. You started it, with your notes. It will be cleaner coming through command. I told myself not to be difficult. I told Myself he was helping. That afternoon, I met Leah Whitmore for the first time. She came into the command building wearing a cream coat and confidence that did not need a badge. Everyone greeted her by name. Her father, General Robert Whitmore, ran Fort Halewood like a private kingdom. Leah was not military, but she moved through that building like a daughter who had grown up knowing doors opened before she touched them. Damon introduced us. Leah is helping coordinate the Relief Foundation side. He said. She looked me up and down. So you are Mara. The way she said it made my name sound like a file she had already read. Yes, Damon speaks highly of your work. Good. My work saved people. Her smile thinned. Of course. That night, Damon cancelled dinner. The next night, too. By Friday, I found him outside the officers' club with Leah. They were standing too close beneath the yellow entrance light. She touched his chest, right above the place where his medals would one day sit. He saw me and did not move away. I remember that more than anything. Not the touch, not her smile, his stillness. Mara, he said. Leah lowered her hand slowly, as if giving me time to understand my place. I looked at Damon. We were supposed to meet at 7. I know, something came up, clearly. Leah's expression held polite amusement. I should go, but she did not. She stayed long enough to see what he would do. He chose in front of both of us. Mara, we need to talk. No one says that unless something has already ended. We walked to the parking lot. Rain had started, cold and thin. He did not offer me his coat. 2 weeks earlier, he would have. I cannot do this anymore, he said. Us. I stared at him. Our wedding is in 4 months. I know, my mother bought her plane ticket. Mara, don't say my name like I am making this hard. His jaw tightened. You are intense. You always have been. Everything with you is pressure, work, feelings, the future. Leah understands the life I am trying to build, the life you are trying to build. She understands command, politics, advancement, and I understand what? Schedules, supply crates, wounded men on stretchers. That is not what I meant. It is exactly what you meant. He looked away. I touched the ring on my finger. Is this because of her father? No. I waited. He did not meet my eyes. Take the ring off, he said quietly. Something in me went very still. You do it. His face changed. Mara, you want it over. Take it off. For a moment, he looked almost ashamed. Then he took my hand and slid the ring from my finger. He put it in my palm like he was returning a borrowed key. The rain hit my skin. My hand closed around the ring. You will regret this, I said. His expression hardened with relief. Do not make this dramatic. 2 days later, the official after-action report for Operation Mercy Line was submitted. Damon Cross was listed as lead architect of the evacuation plan. My name appeared twice. Once under support staff, once in a note about emotional instability following personal conflict. I read that sentence until the words blurred. Then I opened the secure drive and found my original file gone from the shared folder. Damon did not answer my calls. Leah passed me the next morning in the command hallway with a little smile and said, I hope you find somewhere that fits you better. Within 6 months, Damon was engaged to her. Within a year, he was promoted. Within 18 months, people called him the hero of Mercy Line. I kept a copy of my original plan because I had learned from medical logistics that lives depended on backups at first. I kept it because I wanted someone to believe me later. I kept it because one day truth might need evidence more than pain. The ballroom was not silent when my name was announced. It gasped first. A small, collective inhale moved across the front tables as the screen changed behind the podium. Deputy Director Mara Ellison, Office of Personnel, Integrity and Command Review. Then came silence. Damon stood halfway from his chair, frozen between rising and sitting back down. Leah's fingers dug into his sleeve. General Whitmore, older now but still broad and stern, stared at the stage with the expression of a man watching a locked door open from the inside. I walked slowly because there was no reason to rush. 9 years had taught me patience. Evidence moves more quietly than anger, but it arrives with heavier hands. The master of ceremonies gave me the microphone. His smile had gone stiff. Deputy Director Ellison, he said, thank you. I turned toward the room from the stage. I could see everything. Damon's white face, Leah's glittering panic, officers whispering behind napkins, young soldiers looking confused. donors realizing they had wandered into something sharper than ceremony. Good evening. I said, I am here on behalf of the Office of Personnel Integrity and Command Review. Tonight's recognition segment includes several officers whose pending promotions have been subject to routine final verification. Damon sat down slowly. Routine, Leah whispered, but I saw fear in her mouth. I continued, most reviews close without issue, some do not. A stir moved through the room. The military asks for discipline from its lowest recruits. It must demand honesty from those who seek command. Rank is not decoration, it is trust. I did not look only at Damon when I said it, that would have been too personal. I looked at the whole room and let him feel the words land anyway. Before tonight's formal recognition proceeds, one file requires immediate administrative action. Damon stood. Mara, he said my first name into a microphone-filled room. Colonel Voss rose from the side table. Major Cross, you will sit. The word major hit him like a slap. He was wearing the insignia of lieutenant colonel and was scheduled to be recognized for promotion to colonel, but his permanent grade, after a complicated temporary command elevation, still had vulnerabilities. He knew it, so did I. His eyes moved to Voss, then back to me. I believe there has been some misunderstanding, he said tightly. I placed my folder on the podium. There has. Leah rose too. This is inappropriate. This is a formal event, not a personal ambush. I looked at her. Mrs. Cross, please sit. Her mouth opened. I added, if you interfere with an official proceeding, that will also be noted. General Whitmore pushed his chair back. Deputy Director, I request a private discussion before you continue. Your request is denied. A deeper silence fell. No one spoke to Whitmore that way at events where his portrait still hung in the Heritage Corridor. I opened the folder. Damon Cross's pending promotion packet relies on commendations and leadership assessments connected to Operation Mercy Line. During final verification, multiple inconsistencies were identified. Damon's face hardened. You cannot do this here. I can. You are biased. I expected you to say that. I lifted my phone. Less than 10 minutes ago, in this ballroom, you publicly referenced our prior engagement and described me as a woman unable to keep up with your career. That recording has already been forwarded to Colonel Voss and Legal Review. Your attempt to frame this process as personal retaliation has been anticipated and documented. A few heads turned toward Damon. The young captain who had laughed earlier looked down at his plate. Damon swallowed. You recorded me. Yes, Leah hissed. How dare you? I looked at her. Careful, Leah. Her eyes widened. Damon heard the echo too. Careful, the word he once used to shrink me. I removed the sealed order from my folder. The paper was thick, official, and signed before the ball began. My team had prepared it after months of review. Damon's conduct tonight had not created the case, it had only confirmed the arrogance behind it. Pending formal hearing, I said, the Office of Personnel Integrity and Command Review is suspending Damon Cross's promotion. Recognition, freezing his advancement packet, and placing his command history under immediate audit. Damon's hands curled at his sides. You cannot suspend my promotion based on old paperwork. No, I said, I can suspend it based on old paperwork, new audit findings, witness statements, missing communication logs, altered authorship metadata, and your own conduct during a live command event. The room did not move. Leah whispered something to her father. Whitmore's face darkened. I saw Damon calculate. He was good at calculation. He had calculated me once. He had measured my love, my lack of family power, my belief in him, and decided I was safe to discard. Now he was recalculating. Mara, he said, softer. Do not do this. 9 years ago, those words might have cut me open. Now they only clarified the room. You did this, I said. I am documenting it. The master of ceremonies stood helpless near the edge of the stage. The promotion segment had collapsed. The band had stopped playing. No one touched the desserts. Voss stepped forward. Major Cross, you are directed to report to the temporary review office behind the East Hall. Mrs. Cross, you may accompany him as a civilian observer only if you remain silent. Leah looked as if she had been struck. Civilian observer. Voss did not blink. That is your status tonight. Damon stared at me. You came here for revenge. No, I said, I came here for accountability. Then I closed the folder. And Damon, the difference is that revenge only needs pain, accountability needs proof. His face drained of color because he finally understood. I had proof. The temporary review office had once been a private dining room. By the time Damon entered, staff had cleared the silverware and replaced centerpieces with secure tablets, document bags, and a portable scanner. 2 legal officers sat at one end of the table. Colonel Voss stood by the door. I placed my folder at the head of the table and waited until Damon realized he was not being invited to sit as an equal. Leah entered behind him. "This is absurd," she said. "You are humiliating him." I looked up. He seemed comfortable with public humiliation in the ballroom. Her cheeks flushed. Damon shut the door. "Leave my wife out of this. That depends on what your wife did." He stepped closer. "Mara, Deputy Director Ellison." His jaw tightened for 1 second. I saw the young man from the parking lot, the one who had taken off my ring, and told himself it was not cruelty if he sounded calm. "I do not know what you think you found," he said, "but Mercy Line was chaotic. Records get messy. People misremember. Metadata does not misremember." Leah folded her arms. "You built an entire career in some oversight office just to come back and punish him." I slid a printed page across the table. "This is a copy of Damon's promotion narrative submitted 6 months ago. It states he personally designed the staggered evacuation corridor used during Operation Mercy Line." Damon glanced at it. "This is standard language." I placed another page beside it. "This is the original routing model from my secure drive, created 19 hours before your briefing. My name is embedded in the file architecture. Priya Desai and Ellis Reed are listed as contributors. Your name appears nowhere until after I sent you a copy." Damon said nothing. Leah leaned over the documents. "Anyone could have had access." "No," I said. "The audit trail shows exactly who accessed it." Her eyes moved too quickly. "You accessed Damon's drive." I said to her, "I had permission." "From whom?" "My father's staff coordinated relief efforts." "You were not staff." She looked at Damon. There it was, a tiny movement. A marriage built on strategy still had cracks where blame could enter. Damon said, "Leah helped with public communications, that is all." I opened the 3rd document. "This email was sent from Leah's personal account to you the night before the report was finalized. Subject line, make the Mercy Line language cleaner." The body reads, "Dad says the report needs one name attached if you want this to matter for promotion. Mara is support. You are command. Do not overcomplicate it." Leah went pale. Damon looked at her. "You said that was gone." The room went utterly still. Voss's eyes sharpened. I let the silence hold. Then I said, "Thank you, Major Cross." His face changed as he realized what he had admitted. Leah whispered, "Damon." He turned back to me. "That is not what I meant. It will be included in the record. This is a personal vendetta." "Then stop giving me evidence." One of the legal officers lowered his eyes to hide what might have been a smile. Damon dragged a hand over his face. "You have no idea what that time was like. I was there. You were in an office. I was coordinating evacuation while you were standing in a briefing room saying my words." His eyes flashed. "You think logistics is command. I think wounded people lived because logistics worked." For the first time that night, he did not have a quick answer. Leah recovered faster. Even if Mara contributed, Damon was the officer responsible. He carried the command risk. I looked at her. "Did he?" "Yes." "Then why did the original comms log identify me as the live routing authority during the convoy disruption?" Damon looked up. Leah went still again. I turned the tablet around. The screen showed a redacted log with a missing segment marked for recovery. "This section was deleted from the central archive 8 years ago," I said. "But deletion leaves a trace. Someone accessed it from an administrator terminal linked to General Whitmore's office." Leah's voice dropped. "You are accusing my father." "I am identifying a terminal." Damon stepped back from the table as if distance could separate him from the documents. "You are going to destroy everything over an old breakup," he said. I held his gaze. "No, an old breakup was when you stopped loving me. This is about what you stole after." He flinched. "Good, not because I wanted him hurt. Because I wanted him to feel the shape of what he had spent 9 years stepping over." Voss checked her watch. "Major Cross, you are relieved from tonight's recognition program. You will surrender access credentials for your current acting command until preliminary review is complete. Damon looked at Voss. Colonel, with respect, I have operations pending. They will be reassigned. To whom? To someone whose file is not under integrity review. That cut deeper than any insult. Leah's voice rose. You cannot strip him of command in a dining room, I said. We are not stripping him. We are freezing his authority pending review, and if the review clears him, then he can return. Damon looked at me then. We both knew the review would not clear him, not because I would bend it, because the truth had waited long enough. As he surrendered his access card, his fingers brushed mine. It was accidental, but memory moved through my body anyway, his hand taking mine under a hospital hallway light, his thumb turning my ring, his voice saying, "We are a team." Mara, I withdrew first. He noticed. Mara, he said quietly, what do you want from me? 9 years ago, the answer would have been love, an apology, the truth, a reason. Now I picked up his access card and placed it in an evidence envelope. I want you to stop standing on my name. The archive room smelled like dust, toner, and institutional forgetting. It sat 2 floors beneath the command building, behind a door that required 3 credentials and a guard who looked at my badge twice before letting me through. Shelves of sealed operation records lined the walls. Some held clean victories, some held mistakes, some held lies old enough that powerful men assumed they had become history. Nora Bell met me beside Terminal 4 with 2 coffees and a stack of access forms. You picked a dramatic night, she said. I did not pick it, Damon did. Nora snorted. Men like that always do. She had been the archive systems manager for 23 years. She knew where documents went to disappear, and more importantly, she knew how disappearance left fingerprints. I signed the forms. Nora pulled up Operation Mercy Line, Central Report, Medical Annex, Communications Summary, Personnel Commendations, Command Endorsements, she said. Which wound do you want opened first? All of them. She looked at me over her glasses. That bad? Worse. We started with the after-action report. The official version was elegant, too elegant. It described Damon Cross as the decisive officer who identified the Ridgepost corridor, coordinated medical stabilization, and ensured air transfer before weather failure. It mentioned my team only as logistics support. I had read it years ago until I felt sick. Now I read it like an investigator. Open authorship history. I said. Nora tapped keys. Lines of data filled the screen. Created by Mara Ellison, copied to Damon Cross, modified by Damon Cross. Administrative access. Whitmore Office Terminal. Final submitter, Damon Cross. Nora went quiet. I leaned closer. Print that. She did. Next came the medical annex. My original version named 27 critical patients and listed transfer priority by injury severity, transport stability, and surgical urgency. Damon's official version kept the structure but removed my routing notes. In their place, he inserted command language that made the plan sound like a battlefield maneuver rather than medical triage. He did not even understand parts of it. I said. Nora looked at the 2 versions side by side. What do you mean? Here. He changed the reason for delaying Convoy 2. He wrote that it was a tactical hold. It was not. We delayed because 2 patients would have died if moved before blood pressure stabilization. So he made it sound more heroic. He made it sound like his kind of work. The anger came then. Not hot, not wild, dense. 9 years compressed into 1 line of false language. Nora printed everything at 3 in the morning. We found the email chain. Leah's name appeared more often than I expected, not as a passive beneficiary, as a manager. Damon, attach yourself clearly to the decision point. Damon, Dad says promotion boards need command ownership. Damon, do not let Mara's team bury your role in technical language. Damon, I cleaned the paragraph. Use this. I read the last message twice. Use this, as if my work had been a napkin on her table. Nora watched my face. You need a break. No, you sure? I spent 9 years on a break. She nodded and opened the deleted communications folder. That took longer. Some files had been purged under a retention rule, others had been manually removed before the scheduled purge. The difference mattered. A scheduled purge was policy, a manual deletion was intent. At 4:12 a.m., Nora found a partial restoration package created by an automated backup no one had bothered to erase. There is audio, she said. My hands went cold. Play it. Static filled the room, then voices. Ridgepost is overloaded. We need reroute authority. This is a listen. Hold convoy 3. Repeat. Hold convoy 3. Move surgical priority through Quarry Road after fog break. Major Cross confirms. A pause. Then Damon's voice, younger and strained. Route per my command. Log it under Cross. Nora stopped the audio. I did not speak, she whispered. Mara, play the next section. More static. Leah's voice appeared. Faint but clear enough. If this works, Damon, it needs your name. Dad can push it, but not if. It looks like a medical clerk ran the show. Then Damon, she is not a clerk. Leah laughed softly. She is not your future either. The room seemed to tilt, but I stayed seated. There it was, not suspicion, not memory, not pain shaped like evidence itself. Damon had known. He had hesitated for one breath, just long enough to prove he understood what he was doing. Then he had done it anyway. Nora saved the file to the secure review drive. You should go home, she said. I have a witness to contact. Now. I sent a message to Sergeant Ellis Reed. He had been a junior communications specialist during Mercyline. I had found his name buried in the log years ago but never reached out. Back then, I had no power, no protection, and no proof strong enough to make him safe. Now I wrote, this is Deputy Director Mara. Listen, I am reviewing Operation Mercyline. If you are ready to discuss the original communications record, I can offer whistleblower protection under formal process. The reply came 11 minutes later. I have been waiting for someone to ask the right question. A second message followed. I am ready to tell the truth. I closed my eyes. For 9 years, I had thought truth was buried with my younger self, but maybe it had only been waiting beneath dust and fear, preserved in fragments by systems too large to lie perfectly. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Damon. Do not drag Leah into this. Whatever you think happened, it was between us. I stared at the message. Then I typed back, nothing about theft is between lovers. I blocked his number from my personal phone and forwarded the message to evidence intake. The first cut had landed. Now the wound was opening. Sergeant Ellis Reed looked older than his file photo. We met in a military coffee shop outside Fort Halewood. The kind of place with burnt coffee, framed unit patches, and veterans who watched doors out of habit. Reed arrived in a plain jacket, not uniform. He saw me before I stood, and shame crossed his face like a shadow. MS, listen, he said. Deputy Director now, I said, not to correct him cruelly, but because titles mattered in rooms where truth needed protection. He nodded. Deputy Director. We sat in a back booth for a moment. Neither of us touched our coffee. Then he said, I should have spoken years ago. Yes, I said. He looked down. I know. I did not comfort him. That was another thing I had stopped doing for men who felt guilty after benefiting from silence. Reed folded his hands. I was 23, I had student loans, a sick mother, and a commanding office telling me the report was already settled. General Whitmore's aide said if I complicated a successful operation, I would be remembered as the kid who attacked a rising officer over technical details. And Damon, he came to me directly. My fingers tightened around the paper cup. What did he say? Reed swallowed. He said Mercyline needed a clean chain of command. He said your role would be acknowledged internally. He said you were emotional because of the breakup and that pushing your name forward would look like drama. There it was again, the useful word, emotional. A woman could build the bridge, but if she cried when someone stole it, they would call the bridge his and the tears hers. Did you believe him? I asked. At first, maybe, not all of it, but enough to stay quiet. Then I heard the audio again before it was deleted. You knew I directed the reroute. Yes, say it clearly. He looked me in the eye. You directed the reroute. You held Convoy 3 when Ridgepost overloaded. You moved the surgical patients through Quarry Road. Major Cross told me to log the route under his command after the fact. I pressed the recorder between us. Again, I said this time. Reed gave the statement formally. He included the time, the call sign, the names of the staff present, and the pressure from Whitmore's office. He signed the affidavit with a shaking hand. When he finished, he exhaled. Like he had been holding his breath for 9 years too. I am sorry, he said. I put the signed statement into my folder. Your apology does not fix it, I know, but your testimony helps. He nodded, eyes red outside the window. A black sedan slowed near the curb. Reed saw it and went still. You expecting someone? I asked. No. The sedan parked. A man in uniform got out. Captain Owen Hale, Damon's current operations aide. I recognized him from the ball, standing 2 steps behind Damon during the ruined recognition segment. He entered the coffee shop and spotted us immediately. Reed whispered. Damn it. Stay seated, I said. Hale approached with the stiff expression of a man carrying an order he disliked. Deputy Director Ellison, he said. Sergeant Reed. Captain Hale, I said. Are you here for coffee? His eyes flicked to my folder. Major Cross asked me to locate Sergeant Reed. Why? He wanted to speak with him before the hearing. About what? Hale hesitated. Captain, I said. Choose your next words carefully. His jaw tightened. Major Cross said old colleagues should not be pressured into statements they do not understand. Reed gave a bitter laugh. I stood. Did Major Cross direct you to discourage a witness in an active integrity review? No. Did he ask you to report Reed's location? Hale looked at Reed, then at me. Yes. I took out my phone and called Voss on speaker. She answered on the second ring. Listen, Colonel, Captain Owen Hale is present with me and Sergeant Reed. He has confirmed Major Cross directed him to locate a witness before hearing. Hale closed his eyes. Voss's voice came cold and clear. Captain Hale, are you aware this review includes potential witness interference? Yes. Then I suggest you remain exactly where you are and provide Deputy Director Ellison with a voluntary statement unless you prefer formal summons. Hale sank into the booth across from Reed. I do not want to go down with him, he said quietly. Then tell the truth, I said. He did. Damon had called him at midnight. Furious, Damon wanted to know who I had contacted, what archive access I had, whether Reed had been seen near the base. Leah had been in the background, telling Damon that Reed was weak and could be scared. Damon had ordered Hale to remind Reed what happens to men who rewrite history after accepting promotions. Hale had not wanted to come, but he had come anyway. Why stop now? I asked. He looked toward the window. Because I watched him at the ball. The way he talked to you, I have heard him talk like that to junior staff, like people are tools until they become threats. I studied him, and because, Hale added, my sister is a logistics officer. If someone stole her work like that, I would want someone to stand up. It was not heroic, it was late. But late truth was still truth if it arrived before the door closed. I took his statement too. By noon, we had 2 witnesses, 1 recovered audio file, 3 metadata trails, and Leah's email chain. By evening, Damon's legal team requested delay. Voss denied it at 8:04 p.m. Leah called my office line. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice came through 10 seconds later, polished but strained. Mara, this has gone far enough. You and I should talk privately before you embarrass yourself. There are things you do not understand about Damon, about my father, and about what people like you can survive. I saved the voicemail. People like me. She still did not understand. People like me survived because people like her always underestimated what we kept. Leah Whitmore Cross chose a glass office for our meeting. It overlooked the city from the 32nd floor of the Whitmore Relief Foundation, a non-profit built from military donations, political connections, and photographs of Leah holding hands with injured veterans. On the wall behind her desk hung a framed portrait of her father shaking hands with 3 defense ministers. Beside it was a photo of Damon in dress uniform, smiling like a man who belonged to history. Leah wore white. She had always liked looking clean. Mara, she said when I entered, thank you for coming. I came because your voicemail suggested possible interference. Her smile tightened. Always official now, always documented. I placed my recorder on the table. Her eyes dropped to it. Is that necessary? With you, yes. She laughed softly, but the sound had no warmth. Do you know what your problem always was? She asked. I am sure you will tell me. You mistake bitterness for principle. I sat across from her. And you mistake access for worth. Her face changed. Good. Leah had built an entire identity around being untouchable. I wanted her to feel the table beneath her hands. She leaned back. Damon hurt you. I understand that. He was young, ambitious. Men make selfish choices. Women too. Her jaw worked once. I am offering you a way to end this without turning your office into a circus. What way? A public clarification. Damon acknowledges your contribution to Mercy Line. The promotion review closes with an administrative correction. You avoid looking like a scorned woman using government authority to settle a personal wound, and Damon keeps his rank. He earned his career, he built it on stolen work, he built it on command. No, I said, he built it on your father's protection. Her eyes hardened. Be careful. I almost smiled. They all used the same word when they ran out of truth. I opened my folder and slid the printed email across the table. Leah did not look at it. I have seen it, she said. I know, you wrote it. I wrote many emails during relief coordination. You were not relief coordination. My foundation was involved. Your foundation did not exist yet. For the first time, she blinked too slowly. I placed another document down. Your incorporation paperwork was filed 4 months after Mercy Line, yet Damon's revised report mentions coordination with your foundation as if it already had operational status. Leah's fingers curled. That is a clerical issue. It is fraud. That word is dramatic. That word is accurate. She stood and walked to the window. Below us, the city moved in clean lines, cars and people made small by height. I wondered if Leah had always seen the world from above and confused distance with superiority. When she turned back, her mask had thinned. You think you were special because Damon loved you first. No, he outgrew you. No, I said, he traded me. Her mouth twisted. You had nothing. No family name, no command bloodline, no understanding of what he could become. You were useful when he needed someone to build the plan, but you were never going to stand beside him in rooms that mattered. There it was, not jealousy, not romance, class, power, ownership. Thank you, I said. She stopped. For what? For saying clearly what you have spent 9 years dressing up. Her eyes snapped to the recorder. I did not touch it. Do you really think that helps you? She asked. You can humiliate Damon, you can bruise my father, but systems protect their own. I know, and you are not one of their own. I stood. That is why I learned the rules better than the people born inside them. For a moment, Leah looked almost afraid, then she recovered. You will end up alone, she said. Women like you always call it dignity when no one chooses them. I picked up my folder. 9 years ago, that would have hurt me. And now I know being chosen by Damon Cross was not a prize, it was a liability. I left her office without looking back. In the elevator, my phone buzzed. Unknown sender. A file appeared. No message, no name, just an audio attachment and a scanned note. I opened the note first. I was on night relay during Mercy Line. I made a personal backup because Cross told Reed to change the log. I was scared then. I am retired now. Use it. No signature. The audio file was 12 minutes long. I listened with my back against the elevator wall as it descended. Static, rain, voices. Panic, then my own voice, younger but steady. This is a listen. Do not move Convoy 3 until Ridgepost clears Trauma Bay capacity. I repeat, hold Convoy 3. If you move them now, you lose 2 patients before the quarry. Then Damon, log final routing under Cross Command Authority. Then Leah. If this works, Damon, it needs your name. Then Whitmore, faint, distant, but unmistakable. Make it clean. I do not want a domestic dispute in my after-action report. The elevator doors opened. I stood there as people walked around me. A domestic dispute, that was what they had called the theft of my work, the erasure of my service, the end of my engagement, the wound that had changed the course of my life. Not corruption, not retaliation, not fraud, a domestic dispute. I forwarded the file to evidence intake, Voss, and legal review. Then I walked out into the cold evening air and laughed once. Not because it was funny, because the truth had just placed itself in my hands with perfect timing. Leah thought systems protected their own. She was about to learn what happened when the system finally decided I belonged to it too. Damon wore his uniform to the hearing like armor, no ribbons out of place, no crease imperfect, no visible sign that he had slept badly, though the skin beneath his eyes betrayed him. He sat at the defense table with Leah behind him and General Whitmore 2 seats away. Whitmore had brought 2 attorneys and the cold stare of a man offended by consequences. I sat across from them with Voss, legal counsel, and 3 members of the review committee. The room had no windows. I liked that. No chandeliers. No music, no applause, no wife on his arm glittering beneath public admiration, just fluorescent light, recorded proceedings, and documents that did not care how handsome Damon looked in uniform. The chair of the committee, Admiral Klein, opened the session. This hearing concerns the integrity review of Major Damon Cross's pending promotion, current command eligibility, and historical commendation record related to Operation Mercy Line. Deputy Director Ellison, you may proceed. Damon's attorney stood immediately. We object to Deputy Director Ellison leading this review due to prior personal relationship with Major Cross. Klein looked at me. I stood. The relationship was disclosed before the review began. Colonel Voss was assigned supervisory oversight. All evidence has been independently authenticated by 2 departments. Major Cross's conduct at the Military Heritage Ball, including public references to the prior relationship, has been entered into record as relevant to his claim of bias. Klein nodded, objection noted and overruled. Damon's mouth tightened. I began with the promotion packet. Major Cross's advancement narrative identifies him as sole architect of the Mercy Line evacuation corridor. The original file metadata identifies me as creator, with contributions from Priya Desai and Ellis Reed. Major Cross accessed the file after receiving it from me. Authorship was later altered. The screen displayed the metadata trail. Damon looked straight ahead. I moved to the report. The after-action report removed medical stabilization reasoning and replaced it with command language supporting Major Cross's leadership claim. The screen changed. I moved to Leah's emails. Leah shifted behind him. The report language was edited after emails from Leah Whitmore, now Leah Cross, advising Major Cross to attach one name to the operation for promotion purposes. Leah's attorney stood. Mrs. Cross was not a military officer and cannot be held to military reporting standards. No one is holding her to military reporting standards, I said. We are establishing Major Cross's knowledge, motive, and collaboration. Klein said, proceed. I played the voicemail Leah had left me. Her voice filled the room. There are things you do not understand about Damon, about my father, and about what people like you can survive. No one moved. Then I called Reed. He entered with pale determination, took the oath, and sat with both hands on the table. Sergeant Reed, I said, during Operation Mercy Line, who issued the live reroute instruction for Convoy 3, you did. Please state my role at that time. Mara Ellison, Medical Logistics Analyst, Acting Live Routing Authority for Casualty Movement. Did Major Cross instruct you to log routing under his command? Yes. Damon's attorney rose. Memory after 9 years is unreliable. Reed looked at him. That is why I brought my notebook. The room shifted. Reed removed a small Blackfield notebook from an evidence sleeve. I kept personal notes during Mercy Line. I did not submit them because I was scared, but I wrote the times as they happened. The notebook was passed to the committee. Damon turned slowly toward Reed. The look he gave him was not anger, it was betrayal that almost made me laugh. Damon had built a life on betrayal and still resented being refused loyalty. Next came Captain Hale. He testified that Damon sent him to locate Reed before the hearing. Damon's attorney tried to frame it as concern for an old colleague. Hale answered each question with military precision. Major Cross wanted to know whether Sergeant Reed could be convinced not to testify. Did he use the word convinced? He used the word reminded. Reminded of what? That men who rewrite history after accepting promotions lose friends. Klein looked at Damon. Damon stared at the table. Then Whitmore's attorney attempted the old strategy. Deputy Director Ellison, is it not true that you were emotionally involved with Major Cross at the time of the operation? Yes. And is it not true that your engagement ended shortly before the final report? Yes. Could your interpretation of these events be colored by personal pain? I looked at him. Pain does not create metadata. Pain does not create email headers. Pain does not create audio recordings. Pain does not make a witness remember the same timeline as a field notebook and a restored communications file. The attorney paused. I added, but pain did teach me to keep copies. Voss lowered her eyes. Klein's mouth pressed into a thin line. Damon looked at me then. For the first time since the ball, I saw something like fear without anger covering it. He had expected bitterness. He had not expected competence sharpened by time. Leah leaned forward and whispered something to him. He shook his head slightly. Their unity was cracking under the weight of self-preservation. At 3:40 p.m., I submitted the anonymous audio file. Damon's attorney objected until legal authentication confirmed the file's source chain through backup server patterns and voice matching. Klein allowed it. The room lights dimmed. The audio began. Static, urgent voices, then mine. This is a listen. Hold convoy 3. My younger voice moved through the room, steady and alive. I had not heard myself like that in years. Not broken, not begging, not dramatic. Commanding. The committee listened. Damon listened. Leah stopped moving entirely. Then came Damon's voice. Log final routing under cross. Command authority. Then Leah. If this works, Damon, it needs your name. Then Whitmore. Make it clean. I do not want a domestic dispute in my after-action report. The audio ended. No one spoke. General Whitmore's face had gone grey. Damon closed his eyes. Leah's lips parted, but no sound came out. Klein finally said, Deputy Director, listen. Prepare your recommendation. I stood with the folder in my hands. Damon opened his eyes and looked at me as if he wanted to say my name. I silently hoped he would, because every time he said Mara instead of my title, he reminded the room exactly why he should not command anyone. The recommendation was not revenge. I wrote it that night in my office with every source attached, every claim cross-referenced, and every sentence clean enough to survive appeal. Outside my window, the city moved toward midnight. Inside, my desk was covered with the architecture of a lie. Damon's career had not been entirely false. That was the complicated part. He had served. He had led. He had taken risks. A lazy story would make him a villain with no substance. The truth was worse. He had talent. He had courage. He also had a place inside him where ambition could silence conscience if the reward looked large enough. That was why accountability mattered. Not because he was useless, but because he had used real ability to carry a false foundation higher than it should ever have gone. At 12:16 a.m., a message arrived from his official account. I know I cannot stop the recommendation, but before you submit it, meet me once. You owe me that. I stared at the last sentence. You owe me that. 9 years and he still reached for debt. I replied from my official account. All communication must go through counsel or review channels. 3 minutes later, my personal phone rang from an unknown number. I did not answer. A voicemail appeared. His voice sounded rough. Mara, please, just listen. Leah pushed things. Her father pushed things. I made choices, yes, but I was young and trapped. You know what that place was like. You know how power worked. I did love you. That has to count for something. I saved it as evidence of improper contact. Then I sat back and let the words pass through me. I did love you. Maybe he had. In some narrow, hungry way, he had loved the woman who worked through the night, the woman who believed him, the woman whose brilliance could be borrowed, whose loyalty could be spent, whose pain could be dismissed as emotion. But love that consumes you and then calls you dramatic for bleeding. Is not love worth grieving forever? The next morning, the hearing resumed. This time, the room felt different. Damon no longer looked armored, Leah no longer looked clean, Whitmore no longer looked untouchable. I presented the final evidence sequence first, the original route model second, the altered after-action report third, Leah's emails fourth, Reed's testimony fifth, Hale's testimony sixth, the restored audio seventh, Damon's contact attempts after being instructed to use official channels. His attorney objected to the last item. Klein allowed it for conduct review. Damon leaned forward. I was asking for a conversation. I looked at him. You were asking for access. He recoiled slightly. Major Cross. Klein said, you will speak through counsel. Damon sat back. Then Leah made her mistake. She stood. Admiral, this is insane. Everyone in this room knows how military careers work. Reports get shaped. Credit gets consolidated. My father did what commanders do. He protected a successful operation from being muddied by personal drama. Her attorney grabbed her wrist. Mrs. Cross, he whispered, but Leah was too angry to stop. She pointed at me. She lost Damon. That is what this is. She has dressed up jealousy as integrity, and all of you are letting her. I did not respond. I did not have to. Klein looked at Leah for a long moment. Mrs. Cross, thank you. Your statement will be entered into the record. Her face changed as she realized she had not defended herself, she had confirmed. The culture that allowed the lie. Damon turned on her. Sit down, he hissed. She looked at him with pure hatred. Do not act like you did not want it. I did not ask your father to erase her. No, you just let him. That sentence landed harder than anything I could have said. Damon went silent. The committee took a recess. In the hallway, officers moved away from Damon as he passed. Not dramatically. No one shouted. No one insulted him. They simply stopped clustering around him. That is how power begins to leave a man, not in a storm, in small spaces opening where admiration used to stand. I went to the restroom and locked myself in a stall for 2 minutes, not to cry. I thought I might, but tears did not come. Instead, I pressed my hands against the cool metal door and remembered myself at 26, standing in rain with a ring in my palm. I wished I could reach back and tell her she had not lost the best part of her life. She had lost the person who would have taken it when I returned. Damon was waiting near the hearing room door. No one else was close enough to hear. Mara, he said. I stopped. Do not, I need to say this. You need counsel. I need you to know I did not forget. I looked at him then, really looked. He seemed older, not because of lines or exhaustion, but because the story he told about himself had collapsed, and without it he did not know where to stand. I remembered everything, he said, the coffee, the ring, the way you looked at maps like they were living things. I remembered you every time Mercy Line came up, and you still let them call it yours. His eyes reddened. I thought if I admitted it later, I would lose everything. So you let me lose it instead. He flinched. The hearing room door opened. Voss stood inside. Deputy Director. I walked past Damon. He whispered, I am sorry. I paused but did not turn around. No, Damon, you are cornered. Then I entered the room and submitted the recommendation that would take from him the one thing he had chosen over me. The public disposition meeting took place in the officers' hall, not the ballroom. That mattered. The ballroom belonged to Image. The officers' hall belonged to Record. Promotions were posted there. Command transfers were announced there. Names of the dead were engraved along the eastern wall. It was not a place for gossip. It was a place where service either meant something or it did not. Damon stood before the committee in full uniform. Leah sat behind him, separated now from his side by counsel and consequence. General Whitmore was not present. His attorney said medical reasons. Everyone understood that independent investigation had begun, and old men with portraits preferred not to stand beneath fluorescent lights when their legacies started cracking. I stood at the podium with the recommendation in front of me. The hall was full, not because people loved justice, because people love watching status change hands. Still, I accepted their attention. Witnesses matter. For 9 years, my erasure had happened in edited documents and private rooms. The correction would not. Admiral Klein spoke first. After review of evidence, testimony, communication records, file metadata, and conduct following notice of investigation, this committee accepts the recommendation of the Office of Personnel Integrity and Command Review. Damon's throat moved. Klein nodded to me. I read the order. Major Damon Cross's pending promotion to colonel is revoked. His temporary command elevation is rescinded. He is relieved of his current command assignment effective immediately. A murmur moved through the hall. I continued. His grade status will revert to permanent major pending disciplinary board. His commendation record related to Operation Mercy Line will be amended to remove sole authorship and command origin language. A formal correction will identify the medical logistics team and original routing authority. Damon closed his eyes for 1 second. Additional review will determine whether further disciplinary action, including separation, forfeiture of privileges, or referral for criminal investigation, is warranted. Leah made a small sound behind him. I looked up. Damon's eyes met mine. There it was. The title made flesh. I demoted him not by screaming, not by begging the world to believe me, not by needing him to feel what I had felt. I demoted him because the record supported it, because authority finally sat in my hands, and because he had built his height on stolen ground. Klein said, Major Cross, you will surrender command insignia and access credentials. Captain Hale stepped forward to receive them. That must have hurt. Damon removed the insignia with stiff fingers. The hall watched. No one laughed. That was almost worse. Laughter would have given him a villain to blame. Silence gave him only himself. When Hale took the credentials, Damon whispered something I could not hear. Hale answered clearly, "No, sir, a habit, not respect." The meeting ended with procedural instructions. People began to move, voices low. Some looked at me with sympathy, some with discomfort, some with respect they should have offered years ago but did not know how to carry now. I gathered my papers. Damon broke away from counsel and came toward me. Voss moved to intercept him, but I raised a hand. "It is fine." He stopped a few feet away. His face was pale, stripped of ceremony. "You got what you wanted," he said. I placed the order into my folder. "No," he laughed once, bitterly. "No, what I wanted at 26 was for you to choose me honestly or leave me honestly. What I wanted after that was for someone to admit I had done the work. What I wanted for years was to stop waking up angry. And now I want lunch." That startled him. Maybe he expected a speech. Maybe men like Damon believed women carried heartbreak like a shrine, always ready to kneel before it. I was hungry. I was tired. I had another file on my desk. My life had become larger than his damage. He stepped closer. "Mara, I loved you." I looked around the hall. Officers, witnesses, Leah, counsel, Voss. Everyone pretended not to listen. I answered anyway. "You loved what I gave you." His face twisted. "That is not fair." "Fair," I said softly. "You stood in a ballroom and made people laugh at the woman you robbed." I panicked. "No, you performed. There is a difference." Leah appeared behind him. "Damon," she said sharply, "do not humiliate yourself." He turned on her. "You should not speak." Her eyes flashed. "I protected you. You buried me. You asked me to." Their marriage cracked in public without my help. I watched them for a moment, then felt something unexpected. Not satisfaction, release. They were no longer the giants of my past. They were two frightened people fighting over who had pushed the knife deeper. Their power over me had depended on distance, memory, and my younger self's confusion. Up close, they were small. I turned to leave. Damon followed. "Mara, wait." I kept walking. He caught up near the corridor, lined with old campaign flags. "I will appeal," he said. "You have that right. I will say you were biased. That is already documented. I will say you hated me." I stopped and faced him. "No, Damon, that is your last comfort. You need me to hate you because hate would mean you still occupy the center of my life." His breathing changed. "I do not hate you," I said. "I reviewed you." The word struck him harder than anger would have. I walked away before he could answer. Outside, cold air hit my face. The sky was clear. My phone buzzed with messages from Voss, legal, Nora, Reed. Work continued. Life continued behind me. The officers' hall doors opened. Damon called my name once. I did not turn around. He found me in the old parking lot. Of course he did. Fort Halewood had changed in 9 years. But the parking lot behind the command building still held the same cracked pavement, the same poor lighting, the same wind that cut through formal clothing like it had a personal grudge. It was the place where he had taken off my ring. Maybe Damon thought memory would soften me there. I was unlocking my car when he said, "I remember the rain." I did not turn. "Do not make this poetic." He gave a tired laugh. "You always hated that." I hated manipulation. He came closer but stopped several feet away. No uniform jacket now, no audience, no Leah, no attorneys, just a man who had lost rank trying to speak to a woman he once assumed would always listen. "I know I should not be here," he said. "Then leave." "I will, just give me 5 minutes." I looked at my watch. 2. Pain crossed his face. "You really are different." "No, I am just no longer yours." He absorbed that. "I chose wrong," he said. I waited. I thought Leah's world would make me more, her father, the access, the rooms. I thought if I married you, I would spend my life fighting to be seen. If I married her, I would already be visible, and my work helped you shine once you got there. Yes, the word was quiet, honest. "Finally, and years too late," he continued. "At first I told myself I had shaped your plan into command language, that it was collaboration, then the commendation came, then the promotion. Then everyone repeated the story so often it felt dangerous to correct it." "Dangerous for you?" "Yes." I leaned against my car. "What do you want from me?" His eyes shone. "I do not know." That is not an answer. I want you to know that when I saw your name on that screen, I was proud before I was scared. I almost felt sorry for him then, almost. Do you hear yourself? I asked. You still think your pride is a gift? He looked down. I am trying to apologize. No, you are trying to find a version of this where you are not only the man who betrayed me. I am more than that. Yes, I said, you are. That is why it is worse. He flinched. If you were stupid, if you were useless, if you had never understood the cost, then maybe this would be simpler. But you knew me, you knew the work, you knew what they were doing, you knew I was being erased, and you let it happen because the lie served you. He wiped a hand over his mouth. I cannot undo it. No, I can testify against Whitmore, against Leah if I have to. Do it because it is true, not because you think it buys forgiveness. He looked at me for a long moment. Is there any part of you that ever wonders what we would have been? The question entered me like cold air through an old window. For years, I had wondered, I had imagined alternate lives, Damon and I in a small house, Damon and I at ceremonies, Damon and I older, kinder, laughing over the foolishness of our youth. But those lives had required a Damon who did not exist. No, I said. His face broke a little. I opened my bag and removed a small envelope. He stared at it. What is that? Something I should have mailed years ago. Inside was the ring, the modest one, the one he had apologized for, the one I had kept through anger, grief, and stubborn attachment until it stopped being love and became evidence of how little I once accepted. I placed it on the hood of my car. I do not want this in my home anymore. He looked at it as if it were alive. Mara, you took it off my finger because you wanted a different future. I kept it because I thought the past needed a witness. It does not. The records have witnesses now. He reached for it slowly. His hand shook for a second. I saw the man from before ambition finished teaching him cruelty. But grief is not permission. Memory is not a contract. I got into my car. He stepped back. Before I closed the door, I said, you are not allowed to contact me privately again. Legal communication only. If you violate that, I will report it. He nodded. I drove away without watching him in the mirror. The next week, Leah's foundation suspended operations pending financial review. Donor funds had moved through channels connected to her father's old command network. Some of it had paid for events that advanced Damon's profile. Some had supported public relations campaigns around Mercy. Line. Leah blamed Damon. Damon blamed Leah. Whitmore's attorneys blamed administrative staff. Administrative staff produced emails. I signed affidavits, reviewed files, and slept better than I had in years. At the final disciplinary board, Damon testified. He admitted the report had been shaped to elevate his role. He admitted Leah and Whitmore had encouraged the change. He admitted he knew I had created the evacuation model. He did not make himself noble. He did not collapse into tears. He simply told enough truth that the remaining lies could not stand. It did not save him. His demotion was confirmed. His command eligibility was suspended for 5 years. Further separation review began. His Mercy Line commendation was rewritten. The corrected record listed, Primary Routing Authority, Mara Ellison Medical Logistics Coordination, Ellison Team Command Execution, Cross, under review. I printed that page and stared at it for a long time, not because paper could heal me, because paper had once wounded me, and now paper had told the truth. 6 months later, I stood at the entrance of the new Ellison Reed Training Center for Medical Evacuation Integrity. Reed hated that his name was on it. I insisted, you told the truth when it still cost something. I said, late. He replied, late is not never. The center was not grand. It had simulation rooms, logistics labs, communications training bays, and a wall dedicated to unnamed support staff whose work had saved lives without ever becoming speeches. Nora had helped design the archive ethics module. Voss had secured funding. Priya Desai, now a civilian emergency systems director, came back to lecture the first class. No one mentioned Damon during the opening ceremony until a reporter asked me about him. What do you think of Major Cross's final disciplinary outcome? She asked. I stood beneath the center sign, sunlight hitting the glass behind me. I think the record matters, I said. I think rank must follow integrity, and I think no career should be built by making someone else disappear. Do you feel vindicated? I considered that. Vindication sounded loud, triumphant, like a courtroom scene where everyone clapped and the villain fell to his knees. Real life was quieter. Real life was waking up without checking whether the past still hurt in the same place. Real life was making coffee in an apartment no one had ever entered to lie to you. Real life was seeing your name corrected in a file and realizing you no longer needed the people who erased it to admit your worth for you to have it. I feel free, I said. That answer made the evening news. I did not watch it, but Nora sent me a clip anyway with the message, "You look terrifying. Proud of you." Damon sent no message. He could not. The no contact order held. I heard about him through official channels only: separation review, loss of command track, Leah filing for divorce before he could file first, Whitmore resigning from 2 advisory boards, the foundation dissolving under investigation. None of it made me happy exactly. It made the world feel more level. At the reception after the ceremony, young officers walked through the training center reading the wall displays. One lieutenant stopped in front of the Mercyline correction record. She turned to me. Is it true you waited 9 years? I looked at the display. I worked 9 years, I said. Waiting is passive. She nodded slowly. My mother was logistics, she said. She always said people remember the person at the microphone, not the person who made the plan. Then change that, I said. Her smile was small but fierce. Yes. Later, when the crowd thinned, I walked alone into the main simulation room. The screens showed a training map with convoy routes, weather patterns, field clinics, and evacuation windows. Lines moved across the display like veins. I touched the edge of the table for a moment. I was 26 again, exhausted, hopeful, building a route through storm and chaos because people needed to live. Then the memory shifted. I was 35, standing in a ballroom while Damon laughed, then 36, standing in a hall while his rank was stripped. Then here, no longer the abandoned woman in his story, no longer the ghost in his report, just myself. Voss entered quietly. Good turnout, she said. It was. You did well. Thank you. She stood beside me, looking at the map. Do you ever wish it had happened sooner? Yes, I said, but I also know I would not have been ready to carry it the way I did. Voss nodded. People will call you ruthless. Let them. They will call you emotional too. I laughed. They always do. And emotion told me something was wrong. Evidence proved it. Authority corrected it. I am comfortable with all 3. Voss smiled then, rare and brief. At dusk, I left the center alone. No one waited outside with flowers. No new man leaned against a car to reward me for surviving. No dramatic embrace closed the story. I did not need one. My car started on the first try. My apartment was quiet when I got home. On my kitchen table sat the framed correction record Nora had forced me to accept. I had not decided where to hang it for now. I leaned it against the wall. Then I took off my heels, made tea, and opened a new file for the next review because Damon Cross had been one chapter, not the book.